for Heberly. His defender falls down. It's caught by Heberly. He gets inside to the 5-yard line of St. Genevieve. Boy, he makes it look so easy out there.
Tonight, we'll recap the last weekend of high school football.
And Patterson quickly getting to the line of scrimmage with 13, 12, 10. Coleman gets the snap, runs around the right side. Patterson thinks they've scored. The officials say no. Zero's on the clock, and Farmington wins.
And get set for the next slate of games.
Here's the snap. The kick is up. And it is good for Wooldridge.
Yes.
And the Jefferson Blue Jays take their first lead of the ball game. 48 seconds left to go on the clock.
Plus, we'll be joined live by different area players and coaches throughout the season.
We talked about all last season, and going into this season, we're not satisfied. And this group, proved that all off season with the work they put in the weight room, and it's shown in these first 3 weeks.
Broadcasting live from Applebee's Bar and Grill in Farmington. Gertz.
Well, that is our cue, so we'll welcome you to our little corner booth here. Garrett Davenport, Griffin Weinberg alongside, as well as we welcome you to our final show of the year. It has been an exciting high school football season. Things are about to draw to a close as we are down to just 5 teams out of our listening area who are still playing, and they will have an opportunity to bring home that first goal that really everybody sets for a season, winning a district championship. As we have title games coming up this weekend, we'll have games on every regional radio station for you, and we are going to go in depth on all the matchups we saw this last weekend in Week 11 before we dig into the games that are coming up this Friday night. Griff, I think it's always one of the most exciting times of the year, obviously, because of the stakes that are in place for these teams. But I also think it's kind of fascinating that we're getting down to a point now where everybody's really good. There's just good football teams, or teams that are at least playing really well at this moment. And so it's kind of fascinating to see. Those teams tend to be pretty deep, and it's always kind of fun to see. There are certain stars that you expect to shine bright.
Oh, yeah.
I love to see who goes out that night and is maybe not one of those stars that's kind of you expect them to be great. They go out and, have the game of their life and play really well. We had one game this week where a guy in Austin, Romain, who's supposed to be a superstar for Hillsborough, he proved that.
Yep.
But it's a lot of fun to see other guys kind of emerge and make a name for themselves on this type of stage.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. That's what this time is all about. Sure, the superstars, like you said, they're supposed to stand out and do what they're expected to do, but teams need to be deep. And, you need to have guys step up, guys, fill certain roles that maybe they didn't have to during the regular season and play a certain part in helping their team get that kind of success. And it is just it's the best time of the year. The best teams are out there. Thank you so much. The best teams are out there playing, and we're going to have some great ones coming up this Friday.
Yeah, we've got some superstars here at Applebee's in Farmington that are taking care of us as they've done all season. Big thank you to Amy Cousins and crew for hosting us. Garrett, that said, talk about maybe the unheralded heroes of big playoff games. It's not like the stars weren't shining bright this week. I think all 3 of us got to see some great individual performances, particularly running the football. You had one in Bonne Terre, especially with Job Smith.
Oh, I sure did with Job Smith. There's not many guys that can put up video game numbers like that, but I'm kind of with Griffin right now. It's not December, but it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's playoff football. I'm excited for it, and yeah, the stars shine bright. And I think in each one of our games, the stars really shined. Giesler for Griff, Job Smith for me, and then of course Austin Romain. Of course, it was just we've really narrowed it down to these teams, and these district championship games are going to be
the running backs shining. That's what it is. The running backs are really shining.
Yeah.
At the next levels, it's usually the quarterback. Right here, it's the running backs. Those are the ones that are taking over the game right now.
It's like Vince Lombardi used to say, we want a seam here and a seam here, and we're going to run this thing up the alley that won Super Bowls and championships and all that, and it's working for the teams left in our area. We will tell you about how the Valley Catholic Warriors, the Central Rebels, the Hillsboro Hawks, the North County Raiders all made it to district championship weekend, and we will talk about the Sequin Jaguars getting there for the first time ever.
Oh, yeah.
They are our guests tonight. Head coach Nick Bayer and company are going to join us to talk about one of the games of the weekend where they were able to hold on and beat Poplar Bluff in the district semifinals, and how they plan on topping the defending state champs in Jackson this coming Friday night.
I just want to say one thing about our guests, the Sequin Jaguars. Please stream on YouTube and on Twitter, because you'll get to see head coach Nick Bayer's sweet mullet and sweet mustache. So you're going to want to tune in for that.
Yeah, it's a lot like Mike Gundy. The hair might be the key to the success. We're not for certain. Yeah, you can stream us at MyMo Info Sports on Twitter and at YouTube MyMo Info Sports as well, or listen to us on mymoinfo.com. I'm glad to have you with us. Let's start to dive in to these games, and we'll begin with the action that happened on AM 1400 KJF on Friday night as the Hillsboro Hawks needed every second and every yard they could get once again, but ultimately fended off the Festus Tigers with a 13-7 win in the Class 4 District 1 semifinals Friday evening. This one was just as competitive as the first meeting these teams had in the regular season, but it was a completely different game because it was a defensive slugfest. While Hillsboro flexed its muscle, proved they're one of the best defenses in the state, they ended up holding Festus to less than 100 yards of total offense in this one. A huge accomplishment given what Cole Rickerman and Armand Branch have done. Branch didn't have a catch in this game. They were great on defense. You expect that from Hillsboro. Festus's defense then stood up and had its best game of the year as well. They had 5 fourth down stops, but 5 stops on fourth down where it was 2 yards or less to go.
Yeah.
They held up against a great Hillsboro power rushing attack. Jackson Patterson, I think, less than 3.5 yards per carry on 21 attempts. Festus stood up defensively when they had to. They forced a pair of turnovers, and that's why a late touchdown in the first half by Patterson, thanks to a big run by Austin Romain setting it up, makes it 7-0. And that's where the score is until more than midway through the fourth quarter. That's where we jump to, because that is when Festus turns the game on its head.
4th and 2 with 5.5 to play. I formation behind Ray. Fumbled the snap. It's loose on the field. It comes loose to Eric Roos, and he's got nobody in front of him as he goes past the 50, past the 40,
It was so
30,
funny because the ball,
20, 10,
it's a fumble.
touchdown,
It's a center exchange fumble.
Yeah. Kidding me?
So everybody just assumes that some lineman
for
fell on the
Ray.
ball.
Yeah.
And then when it leaks out, Roos is behind the play. He overran it. And it was literally, it was like a cartoon. Like you could see the exclamation point coming. The ball just pops up. No one's in front of him. He just takes off.
And he is
See ya.
able to walk into the end zone untouched. The other 55 yards for the score.
And Nathan, kind of how storybook is it for this game to go down to the wire again for the second time? But this time it's the defense that really steps up.
It's storybook on one end for Festus, or for Hillsboro, because the Tigers were the reigning district champs and reigning conference champs. That's the team Hillsboro had top of their list that they knew they had to try and summit. And the closest games that Hillsboro has played this year have both been against the Tigers. So it was not only storybook, but it was, I'm sure coaches would tell you exactly what they expected. They did not think they'd roll past Festus. They knew they were going to have to grind it out to get the win. And I think while it did end up being a loss for Festus, I was talking to a couple of folks around that team, head coach A.J. Ofadale, obviously, who I thought it was great right after we talked in the game, said, if you had told me we get 4 fourth down stops and hold Jackson Patterson to less than 100 yards, I thought we'd have won by 3 touchdowns. It was one of those things. They were so proud of the way that the young guys on defense, there were 2-3 freshmen that started that game on defense for Festus that stood up and played well and put them in this spot. However, right after that fumble, Hillsboro gets it back and they respond. The guy who ended up being the star of the show, their junior fullback, he powered their game-winning drive.
Wing here to the near side, Watson. I formation. One receiver to the far side. Handoff. Romain up the gut. Runs over tacklers. Inside the 10. Inside the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Hillsboro. Austin Romain batters his way in for the score. And on a night where the junior has flexed his muscle on defense and on offense, he gets into the end zone with what might be a winner as Hillsboro now leads 13-7 with 1:13 to go.
Hawks get off the field on the next series defensively and hold on for their 8th straight win to improve to 9-1. Earlier today, Austin Romain, we named him our Applebee's of Farmington Athlete of the Week for very good reason. 232 yards and the game-winning touchdown on the ground, but on defense, he had 11 tackles, which is a game high, 4 sacks, and he had an interception, which on the very first drive of the night, Festus is moving the ball pretty well. They have a touchdown pass to Armand Branch called back because of a penalty, and the very next play, Romain knocks a pass up in the air and picks it off the deflection for Cole Rickerman. It was a play early in the game that proved to be a momentum swing, which just shows you literally from start to finish.
Yeah.
Austin Romain affected every aspect of the game. Bill Saharsky, in hearing from him yesterday when he nominated Austin for Athlete of the League, said it's one of the greatest games I've ever seen an athlete play in 22 years coaching. I couldn't dispute it. I've never seen an individual dominate a football game. That's supposed to be a basketball thing where a guy dominates the game. Football is the team sport. Austin Romain had his fingerprints on every part of the game.
Yeah, you just never really get to see that, and that is something that Bill Saharsky says that after coaching for over 20 years, where it's like this guy is able to impact the game like that. Like you said, I mean, basketball, I think it's a perfect analogy. You can change the game. One player can change the game, can change a team in basketball, but football has to be. Go back to the quote that Chad used a little bit earlier this year: do 1/11th of your job, and then everything will work out into place. But it's the playoffs. It's district. Semifinals, going into the district championship game, your best players, they do need to step up, and they do need to play at a higher level in these games. And Romain, he showed out when he had to.
And I guess that's why the kid, Austin Romain, got all those accolades from the MAFC Red. What, MAFC Red Player of the Year? Am I correct?
Yeah. All conference came out this week. He wasn't just first team fullback, linebacker, and punter. He was the conference's defensive player of the year and the conference's MVP. I've said it a billion times on this show this year, and it was kind of fun to have a performance solidify that, which is Jackson Patterson is going to go down statistically as the best running back in Hillsborough Hawks history. Yeah. But, man, his running mate is really, really good, too. Austin Romain.
He's a junior or senior?
Yeah, he's a junior, which is the other funny thing in talking with Coach Saharsky right after the game. He said he's a D1 athlete now. So that's the kind of thing where you look at him and you say, where will he end up continuing his football career? Because it sure looks like he's going to be a next-level player. Speaking of Coach Saharsky, you win a game in a slugfest 13-7. Immediately afterwards, he said, obviously, he loved the way his defense performed.
We put the game plan together. Coach Ray did a good job. We sat down and saw what what
Has
they
he just
did
gotten
and
like
told
that
our
much
kids,
better from the beginning of the
this is what they
season
heard
up
with the
until this
first,
point, it feels like?
The first game,
Even when I
we
called
needed
their
to be
game
better
against
at
North
that,
County, I
and,
think he was
used,
good, but
our bye week
Well, they didn't give him touches.
clean up some
was the
stuff
other
that we
thing.
didn't like how
If
we
they
played
don't
the
have
first
to,
game.
they'll give it to Patterson.
Yeah.
We slowed
So
things
they
down
can keep
for them,
Romain
I think,
fresh for
last week,
defense.
and They kind of saw
Romain was
stuff. We
banged
could
up a
see
little
as the
bit
week was
earlier in the
getting-
year, too.
As the week was going from last
He's
week
been
to this
banged up
week,
all 3
how
years
much better
because he
we
plays
were.
so physical. Meanwhile, of course, we mentioned being our Applebee's of Farmington Athlete of the Week. Austin Romain also, after the win over Festus, the Applebee's of Farmington Player of the Game.
Yeah, there was a few times where I told him certain play to give it to me because I knew it would work. I told him, I said, well, they'll end up getting tired the way our offense is and the way our defense is, and we'll punch them in.
We'll talk a lot more about Hillsborough in a bit because they have got a showdown with North County looming for a district championship. But Festus finishes the year 6-5, and I cannot reiterate this point enough. They lost those 5 games by a combined 30 points, and never by more than 8 points. They were so close to having a much more different year just based on their record. It is true that there is a massive hole now to fill with Cole Rickerman graduating, who I think is probably headed back to the Regional Radio Dream Team at quarterback this year.
Kyan Roberts Day gone as well.
Eric Roos will be gone. He was great on both sides of the ball. Probably their best offensive lineman, Connor Holt, is graduating. That said, 7 of the 11 starters from the defense on Friday night are back. I mentioned a lot of freshmen and sophomores started. A lot of freshmen and sophomores excelled on Friday night. I was really impressed with a freshman linebacker, Mason Shermer, who transferred into the program recently. Big Braden Hanlon, the freshman nose tackle, was very good. I think that they are so enthused because they played their best defensive game of the year at the end. And next year, when they will have to make a quarterback change, they're going to need the defense to help them out.
Well, yeah, I think the game film from last Friday night is going to be a big part moving into next season because you said it, the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, just the guys who are going to be able to come back on that defensive side, having that experience and knowing that AJ O'Fidele, knowing that his defense is capable of having a performance like that against, I don't know how many points per game that Hillsborough is averaging coming into that game, but they can put up points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it was over 40, and it dropped down to about 37 a game because of that. Yeah.
To be able to stop that and just to be able to watch that film, I think over the course of the whole offseason, it might change the identity of the team going into next year, but only for better.
And a lot of growth on that defensive line as well to really I wouldn't say shut down the rushing attack for Hillsborough, but to, stay in the game against that dynamic rushing attack. And you know what? Going into this season, if you would have told me Festus was going to have this record, I would have thought you were kind of crazy because we know this team was a lot more talented than that shows. Of course, Nathan, you brought it up, without Cole Rickerman, that's definitely going to be tough. But they do have a returning receiver, and Armand Branch was going to make life a little bit easier as a new quarterback to be able to throw him the football. But, definitely, like you said, Griff, there's going to be some positives coming up for this next season. Is just, finding something to work with these new guys heading into big spots.
It's just having, AJ Ofadale, him knowing that he has confidence in his team, in his younger guys to step up and to, improve over the offseason. There's going to be good things in the horizon for them.
Yeah, he's somebody that we've talked before. It's not just that experience as a former NFL player. It's not just that experience as a former Mizzou assistant coach. He was at Rockbridge, Columbia. He coached at one of the high school powerhouses in the state of Missouri. So he knows what it will take to get this back to being a big-time winner. And, definitely want to just note with that Festus defense again what they did. Other than the loss to Jackson this year, I don't think Hillsborough had failed to score 30 points all season, let alone end up in the single digits. So really a tremendous performance. And obviously, Festus can hang their head high even as they end the season in defeat. Meanwhile, Hillsborough moving on, and plenty more about the Hawks is on the way. We're going to take our first quick timeout, come on back, and when we do, we're going to talk about the first playoff edition of the Old Settlement Showdown and how, for 3 quarters at least, Valley Catholic and St. Genevieve played one of the games of the night. We'll tell you about that one right after this on the Colts Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable here on J98. Back on the Colts Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable here on J98 as we welcome you back to Applebee's in Farmington. Nathan Ertz, Garrett Davenport, and Griffin Weinberg. And Griff had a chance to be out in historic St. Genevieve on Friday night as we go back to the game breakdowns. The first playoff edition of the Old Settlement Showdown, for the most part, really did live up to the hype. Valley Catholic ultimately pulled away for a 69-35 win over St. Genevieve Friday night, as heard on J98, but it was a lot closer than that most of the way. Valley took the opening kickoff to the St. Gen 25-yard line and then faced 4th down.
Valley is going to go for it on 4th and 15. Trips out to the right. Fowler looking to throw. Facing some pressure. Got Aiden Heberly across the middle. Heberly caught. Touchdown. Valley Catholic takes an early 6-0 lead over St. Genevieve with 8 minutes and 27 seconds to go in this first quarter.
When Valley scores first, the number 2 ranked team in the state doesn't typically relinquish that lead. But Caden Fly came up with a kickoff return into Warrior territory, and St. Jen's leading receiver pumped up his kicks to tie up the game.
2nd and 10 for the Dragons. Going to be a handoff to Zach Boyer on the right side, sweeping. He's going to break free across the 10.
I stole one of his. So.
Touchdown.
Yes, you did.
You did. I heard that
St. Genevieve ties it up.
I think I left that in here.
Thanks to a 24-yard touchdown run by Zach Boyer.
Valley got the ball back, and their star junior running back helped his own cause.
Probably already got some thoughts going through his head. 2nd and 10, handoff, Giesler up the middle. Stiff arm, one tackler, trucks another one. Did he cross the goal line? He did. A touchdown, Bryce Giesler. What a run. 13 yards for the junior. Valley Catholic retakes the lead, 27-21. 1 minute, 35 seconds left in the first half.
Now, while the next two drives were about the defense as both teams punted, time winding down in the first quarter, Grant Fallert gets off a short punt. St. John starts their drive in Warrior territory. It only took them 2 plays to find pay dirt and tie the game up.
Zach Boyer sweeping left
What
to
schedule?
right.
What are you?
Aiden Boyer going to look to
Wait,
throw this one. For
hopefully
Hayden.
that's
Side
still
deep.
in.
He's caught it at the 40, crosses the 50.
staff notes.
He's got nothing but country roads ahead
this
of him,
one too.
folks. Caden Fly.
That's the one you put it out because, like I said, I shortened it.
A touchdown
Yeah.
for St. Genevieve
Nice,
makes
yeah.
it
It's tied at 28.
35-27 with
35.
7 minutes and 27 seconds to go in the third quarter. What a ball from Aiden Boyer. Just when the Dragons needed something big, they get the momentum there. Caden Fly, a huge catch to make it a
45.
one-score ball game. Exactly.
So that, as I mentioned, makes it a one-score affair, 35-28 in the late going. But Valley did follow that up with 2 consecutive touchdowns to make it 42-28. And I think Griff is the theme of this one here. Valley puts a little garnish on it in the fourth quarter to make it look like a different ball game than what it was. The reality is, for the second time this year, Jay Pope took a team against a top 10 bunch in the state in Class 3 and went punch for punch.
Yeah, he was right there. And the thing that I think caught me off guard at the beginning of the game was the amount of energy that St. Gen played with, because you could see it right from the opening kickoff. So some of the kids on St. Gen, after they make a tackle, they're getting in the face of the Valley kids. They're puffing their chest. Even Jay Pope on the sidelines, he's jumping up and down. He's going crazy. He's getting loud. There was a couple times early in the game, or at least on that Caden Fly kickoff return, he gets knocked out of bounds. Late flag comes in after a personal foul. It was a chippy game, but nothing ever really got out of hand. You know, I think that it was just the energy. Everyone around town had been talking about that game for not really just the past week, but really for the entire season, at least since week 2. The week 2 game, it was Valley 46-0. St. Gen, they couldn't practice until a little bit later in that week. You know, still it's Valley Catholic. You know, you would expect them to come out of that game as the winner. They did, but things were just so much different this time around. It just felt like, even talking to Jay Pope before the game and Judd Nagar as well, it just seemed like this was going to be much, much different. And, you know, St. Gen, they fought, but the thing is, if you want to beat Valley Catholic, if you want to beat any team that's a top 10 team in the state, you got to be able to play 4 quarters. Some guys on St. John's side, they got a little hurt, as did some players on Valley as well. But it's just, you have to be able to play for 48 minutes, and St. John they couldn't.
And I think the biggest reason that it's hard to stick with Valley, this version of them, for all 4 quarters, is the fact that they appear to be able to really physically wear you out. For all the great things St. John did, Bryce Giesler on his own runs for 300 yards, or finishes with 300 total yards in this game and scores 6 touchdowns, and most of that is on the ground. They've been renowned for what Judd Nagar does, scheming things up, especially in the passing game, doing things more advanced than most programs, especially when they were down at the Class 1 level. This year, it's about what they do running the ball first and foremost.
Well, and the thing that really has made their run game so effective is the blocking. The offensive line, they returned a few starters from last year. They returned at least 7 guys who started one game on the offensive line last year. They've just gotten better and better throughout the year as well. You know, they're not the biggest guys. They're not the tallest guys or anything like that, but they block well. They're coached well by Joe Roth, their offensive line coach, and they know how to execute the plays to perfection. That is why things have worked out so well for him. Giesler, he can break tackles. He can get free. He had a 41-yard run. I think it was in the third quarter. His touchdown, maybe 3 or 4. You kind of lose track when he had 6 of those on the ground. But it was he went 41 yards untouched. The blocking was perfectly. I would love to ask either Judd Nagar or Jay Pope when they look back at the film, you know, what did you see on that play? Because it was just ran to perfection. So when a team is playing like that, when they know their assignments, doing 1/11th of their job, it's going to be really hard to beat them. And that's just the thing that separates Valley Catholic from some of these other teams around the area. It was a very hard-fought game, but the thing that me and Judd talked about afterwards, he said, you know, winning is hard. They earned the win.
Yeah, and a great thing to see considering they hadn't been in a 4-quarter fight at any point this year.
Exactly, and I wanted to talk about that. I forgot about it, but I'm glad you brought that up. That's one thing that Valley has not done the entire year. They have not played 4 quarters, and it is just the fact that they get that experience, at least coming into this Friday's game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That was really important for them because they needed to be tested like that, especially when they're going to go up against another top team in the state this Friday.
Yeah, it was something that they arguably didn't experience much of last year or even at all last year, which is why St. Mary's may have gone into St. Genevieve last year and kind of punched them in the mouth early. This time around, they can't say that didn't happen because they were in it in terms of a fight this past week against St. Gen. Bryce Giesler rose to that challenge, though, as we mentioned, over 315 total yards and 6 touchdowns for Applebee's and Farmington player of the game. Junior afterwards, he carried it 37 times. He said he wasn't tired, though.
I was thriving. I felt just as good as I did at the start of the game.
Cool kid.
All the energy, this game was insane. So that fueled up all of us. I mean, I felt like we thought it would have started a little bit differently just because of how things went the first game.
Yeah.
I got to give credit to them. I mean, they brought it right from the get-go. It took us a little bit to get going, but once we did, we just didn't look back.
And to the point about how next week becomes one of the biggest games in the entirety of Missouri high school football this year, and how it's probably going to be a matchup that goes all the way to the wire. Valley coach Jed Nagger after the game against St. Gen saying playing all 4 quarters tonight, important for his team.
It was important because it's fun. I mean, I know that sounds stupid, but it's fun to be in games like this, It's fun to be in
how honest he got.
As a coach,
it's not stupid. I don't know why you think
it's hard, but it's fun. Things can be hard and fun at the same time. Yeah, they earn the win tonight, and they understand that they have to play their best at all times. And everybody has to be their best. I think Bryce and Hayden and Grant, the offensive line, and everybody kind of showed everybody, hey, there's another level to this football team, and their best game might still be in the future.
I don't know why Coach Nagger would say it's stupid to call the hard games fun. Every player and coach I talk to says the hard ones are fun. They're stressful. They make you work for it. But they are also, it's not just that they're fun and they create memories. They're the ones you have to win. At the end of the year, Valley had this 2 years ago, I remember, on their way to winning that last state title in 2019 in Class 1. For the most part, they handled people on their way to doing that. But they had a game that was decided by a late touchdown that they win 14-7 over Thayer in the state quarterfinals. And then in the state championship game, they need a field goal really with about 5 minutes left to make it a 2-score game again to beat Lincoln. If you can't play in a close game, it's not going to be very fun at all, the result at the end.
Yeah, and I think, maybe from the outside looking in, I'm not sure if this is what, Judd's way of thinking was, but it's so easy for us to just look at their regular season, how it went this year, how it typically goes for them, and how they just blow teams out. And we're thinking, are they having fun? Is it fun beating teams 65-0 or anything like that? We just don't see Valley Catholic in these close games all the time. And you just kind of expect them to cruise through the whole district portion and regular season part of the schedule until they get to the final 3 stages of the state playoffs. So, like you said, it's a lot of fun when they're playing down to the wire like that. Bryce Giesler, he said the same thing. I'm sure all the kids on the team, they were thinking, we're having fun when we actually have to, compete like this, when we have to use our minds, and it's not just, running over other teams like that. So I'm glad they enjoyed the time out there. It was a really fun game to watch from my perspective as well. Had a lot of fun talking with Jay Pope over the course of the season, and we're going to be hopefully talking with him a little bit more this upcoming week as well. Talk about that when we talk about our upcoming Friday slate. But it was a really great game, and Valley Catholic, they come out on top, and they move forward.
See, that's a tease I'm excited about because I am just now learning about that. Which,
breaking news to you.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. But really, to put a bow on it, can't say enough about year one for Jay Pope in St. Genevieve, and you're going to have that terrific combo of Hayden and Zach Boyer back.
Yeah.
I want to say guys like White. Springcamp will be back.
Springcamper's a sophomore,
year.
And he's great.
The majority of the stuff that was so good on offense down the stretch and obviously showed up on Friday night, that's going to be there for them next year.
Yeah, Hayden Boyer back. Zach Boyer is senior, so he is going to be gone. One other thing I wanted to say just about St. Genevieve, when I was talking to Jay Pope after the game, he was saying, at some point, I think after the Valley Catholic game in week 2, there were some people around the area saying, they're not a good football team and maybe they aren't going to play up to par. Whoever, if anyone out there was actually saying that, that's just asinine, if I may say, because they ended up being 7-4. The 4 losses that they had this year were to 3 teams. They lost to Valley Catholic twice. 3 teams that are ranked in the top 10 of the state in their respective classes. And again, I don't know if there's a silver lining in losses, but those are decent losses to have. And they lost by 2 points to Kennett. So it was a great first-year effort from Jay Pope. A lot of great things coming for that program in the future.
Got it all started by going to Tiger Stadium and beating Festus. And much like Festus, could have been a completely different year, but still a lot of positives to take. And we'll see what St. John looks like in year 2 under Jay Pope. Of course, for Valley Catholic, it's on to a district championship game next week, which is going to be the first time they've done that in Class 3 since a year ago. They were eliminated by St. Mary's in the semifinals. Plenty to discuss about number 1 and number 2 meeting up in just a little bit. Right now, going to take another timeout. Come on back. When we do, we'll recap the action on AM 800 KRA, the most impressive win of the weekend, how the North County Raiders got it done again in their rivalry showdown with Farmington. We'll tell you about it on the other side here on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. We welcome you back to Applebee's in Farmington. Nathan Gertz, Griffin Weinberg, and Garrett Davenport live with you for the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable here on J98. Breaking down the games we had for you on regional radio during district semifinal weekend. Let's talk about the one on AM 800 KREI. The most convincing win of the weekend belongs to the North County Raiders. They're going to district championship for the second season in a row, and they did it this time with a decisive 56-20 victory over the Farmington Knights. It was actually Farmington that got in the end zone first. A solid 5-play, 58-yard drive was capped off by their senior quarterback.
9:55 left to go here in this first quarter. We just started, but the Knights are ready. Knocking on the red zone, ball placed on the 26. Felker. He's under center. He's bringing Cunningham in motion. He's going to drop out to pass. Pressure coming from Peyton Allen. He's rolling out to his right. He's going to tuck it and run. He gets the first down. He's going down the sideline. Felker is at the end zone. Touchdown, Farmington. Drew Felker, 26 yards. And the Farmington Knights strike first.
Very nice start for Farmington. But 3 plays later, the star junior running back for North County would answer, breaking out a big play of his own.
It's ball in the 46-I formation. One to the right, one to the left for Nolan Reed. Takes the snap. And a little counter play for Joe Smith. He cuts up right in front of the middle. He's at the 20, the 10, the 5, and right back at you. Job Smith with another touchdown. 46 yards. Jeff, wow, what a kid that man Job Smith is.
Farmington fumbled the football. It gave the Raiders prime field position, and, well, Smith made sure he was going to outdo himself pretty much every time he touched the ball, but the next time he would find a hole on this one.
So here's the snap. Reed, he's going to hand it off to Job Smith. Blockers in front of him. Makes a man miss. He's got a lot of green grass in front of him. Here he goes. 30, 20, 15, 10. Job Smith does it again. Another Raider touchdown. Oh, my goodness. North County on the board again. 12-7 is the score with 3:55.
The Raiders got the ball shortly once again, and a theme is developing. Job Smith finds the goal line again.
High formation now, going from left to right. Reed. Misdirection. Job Smith is going down the right side, and he shoves off a tackler, shoves off another one. Makes another man miss, and he is in the end zone again for a North County touchdown. 37 yards from Job Smith. He's got 3 already, and it's the first quarter. Jeff.
Like you said, Garrett, there was the Farmington had 4 guys actually get a hold of him and just
Bro, I still
bring it
can't
down.
believe it to this day.
Even when a good punt by the Knights pins the Raiders deep in their own territory, you got a chance for a stop. It's only a 2-score game. You could swing the momentum. Mr. Smith refuses to let that happen.
First down and 10, balls placed at the 21-yard line after the Nolan Reed carry. 4-yard gain for Reed. Here's the snap and counterplay. Joe Smith right up the gut. Nobody in front of him. There's nothing but country roads ahead. 10-5, a touchdown to Joe Smith again. And that time, nobody wrapped up because nobody was in front of him. That was just straight up the middle of the field for another touchdown.
An electrifying touchdown call, if I may.
Yeah.
I totally did not steal that.
No idea what
call right there. Don't know where it came from.
I mean, we share ideas and lines and things like that. It's fine. Just don't dropping onions in during basketball season. I hear Bill Raftery is extremely litigious, but that's basketball talk.
Are you kidding me, baby?
The talk on the football field should be pretty much centered around this basic point. North County ends up rushing for 505 yards on a night where they score on all but one possession as they go on to win this one handily. Job Smith rushes for 338 of that, which is a single game school record, obviously, and 5 touchdowns. Garrett, he did it on 11 carries. Every time he touched the ball, he gained 3 first downs. It's incredible what this North County team can do just running the ball with number 18.
Yeah, I honestly am still at a loss for words. If I wasn't there watching it, I wouldn't have believed it myself. It was absolute insanity watching that game. Every time Job Smith had the ball, he was making people miss left and right. 4 people just could not tackle him. Also got to give credit to that offensive line as well, and I know that's something that Brian Jones hit on in our post-game interview. Those holes were gigantic for Job Smith, so all those offensive linemen, all their names are not coming into my head right now at the moment, but I mean, he just had a lot of room to work. Nolan Reed also had a pretty decent game, almost got to 100 yards himself. He had a touchdown as well, but I mean, it was just running all over the field was North County, and Farmington really had no answer. They just could not stop that rushing attack for North County.
It sounds like it's kind of hard to believe, even if that you were there. It's still hard to believe that you could see what happened.
I still can't believe, like 505 yards. I mean, that's pretty insane for a high school team to put up that many yards total. And, I've watched a lot of football. I'm a big offense guy. 505 yards total as a team, that rarely happens in college. But for 505, only rushing the football, no passing attempts, still is just insanity to me. I cannot believe it.
I think the thing that we know, or that we've learned about North County throughout the year, is that they run hard, they play physical. They're not going to back down from a fight. And that was the epitome. I think that's the right word. That was the epitome of exactly, what their identity as a team was this past Friday night.
Yeah, that's North County football. And, of course, their offense played great, but so did their defense. I mean, really, there was nothing Farmington can do. Andrew Civey, Peyton Allen, even Joe Ortman, the silent assassin. As Brian Jones calls him. I mean, they were everywhere. They were in the backfield. It seemed like every play. Drew Felker tried to roll out to pass. He just could not find any lanes. Holes would be open for a split second, but then instantly clog up. Mason Lay is another guy as well for North County that played great. It's just a dominant performance, and it's something that I honestly did not expect coming in, is that, this Farmington team improved a ton throughout the season. But, I mean, there was a lot of unforced errors when it came to Farmington. They did have 3 fumbles unforced. There was 1 forced fumble. But when you give a team like North County great field position, which really seemed the entire game they had great field position. They're going to score. They're going to score almost every single time, and that's exactly what happened. You can't turn over the football against this team, and if you do, that's the result that's going to happen.
Yeah, we talk so much statistically about the numbers that Joe Smith has put up. This isn't his first time rushing for over 200 yards this season. He's had just some eye-popping numbers this year. Nolan Reed has been a threat, but man, the secret sauce is what North County does to you up front. Farmington saw it in the beginning of the season and couldn't slow it down. On Friday night, Raiders head coach Brian Jones says all the yards that they picked up starts with their offensive line.
Yeah, they're just a great group. Luckily, 3 of those guys are coming back to anchor our line next year, which we're going to desperately
give
need.
North County their
we're going
love.
to miss Hayden and Jackson. They've been solid all year, but really, excited that Mason and Blaine and Isaac are all just juniors. And even Andrew, if you want to throw in the tight end, or what we've called him this year, the wide tackle. If you want to throw in the wide tackle and Andrew, really making sure that those guys understood what we wanted out of them, especially when Coach Creepy shifted guys around and stuff. And we also, worked with Nolan and didn't quite get it right early on. We was running a little too tight. I'm going to be real honest. I didn't have any idea it was going to go this good, but boy, there was gaps there that you or I could have ran through tonight, I think.
Semi-truck type of holes for Joe Smith and company to rumble down the highway towards in this win here. I mean, we're going to talk more about it when we get to Hillsborough and North County, but man alive, they have just built themselves a force of nature at the line of scrimmage, and that allows you to, football. We're in the era of the modern era of the forward pass and spreading it out, and quarterback play can change games. That's true, but if you can just flat bully somebody on the offensive and defensive line, that right away will make you a tough team to compete against.
And Nathan, you call it semi-truck holes. I think you can land a plane in some of those holes. I mean, you could bring a private jet in there because
the guy waving in the hangar.
You got the O-line just come on through. That's exactly what it looked like from my angle. It's just, especially on that counter play where I stole Griffin's call just right up the gut. There was nobody around him. So, yeah, I mean, they play bully ball up front, and they got the size, they got the strength to do it. And Brian Jones telling me that these guys really, really worked in the weight room over the summer. Mm-hmm. And that's what weights do. That's what the weight room does. It gets you stronger. It gets you mentally prepared as well when you feel that strength coming in. So, again, bully ball up front, that's really the recipe for success for this team.
And I'd like to thank you, number one, for admitting that you stole the call on the record. So now that's there, for the taking. Yeah. But, I mean, another thing, we talk about Valley Catholic and how great their blocking is and how dominant they are at the line of scrimmage. I mean, North County, they're just as good. They're right there, and they're going to bring it Friday night.
This Friday night game, Hillsborough and North County, it's going to be, punch you in the face kind of football. That's a little bit of hyperbole there, not literally punch anybody in the face. We hope not, and I don't think that they will, because these are two respectable programs. I have much respect as a broadcaster going up and seeing both of these teams, so I know they have respect for each other, of course, but this is a North County team that did not have their best game against Hillsborough, so they're going to come back, and they're going to come back to fight.
Yeah, and on the flip end of that, do want to talk about things wrapping up for Farmington, because they were, for the first time since I've been around this team for head coach Eric Krupe, you didn't use the word experienced. Normally they've had so many guys that have played both sides of the ball a couple of years that step in and start again every season. Not the case this year. They were extremely young, and it seems like being able to come up with that goal line stand week 2 against Potosi kind of turned things to where, while they're not necessarily ready to catch somebody at the level of a North County or Hillsborough, a lot of progress was made for a young group for head coach Krupe this season.
Oh, a lot of progress. I mean, just thinking on the top of my head, 2 guys right now, especially on the offensive side of the football, Jeremiah Cunningham, and also Casey McLean, who in a Farmington program, I haven't been here for a long time, but starting a freshman at running back is something that doesn't really happen all that often. In Jeremiah Cunningham, he's obviously learning the offense. There was actually a debate whether or not he was going to be quarterback, so he could be under center next year, and they got a lot of promise with some of those guys up front, and definitely with some of those younger guys. They've got that varsity experience now. They played some great teams like Jackson, North County. They got a big win against Poplar Bluff, So, yeah, they're going to become experienced. I think next year they're going to have a little bit of inexperience as well, and they're going to have to really build up that program, not from the ground up, because as we talked in the summer, this is a Farmington team that reloads, not necessarily rebuilds. But it's gonna, I feel like next year is going to be a little bit of that fine-tuning, getting those guys that varsity experience, but they definitely laid some great groundwork for next year with some of these younger guys.
Can't wait to see what they do next season after going 7-4 this year and missing a district championship for the first time in 3 years. Going to take another quick timeout. When we come back, we'll get you the entirety of the scoreboard from Week 11 and tell you about how district semifinal matchups went around the area. That's next on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable here on J98.
If the Oral-B IO electric toothbrush had a theme song, this...
Just 90 seconds here. Back on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on J98. We told you about the games that we had for you on regional radio Friday night as part of more high school football playoff coverage. Just to recap, though, on J98, the Boot Class 3 District 2 semifinals. Number 2 seed Valley Catholic Warriors beat the 3 seed St. Genevieve 69-35. On AM 800 KREI Class 4 District 1 semifinals, number 2 seed North County Raiders cruise past 3rd seeded Farmington 56-20. And then on AM 1400 KJF, the other Class 4 District 1 semifinal, top seeded Hillsboro Hawks won a defensive slugfest with number 4 seed Festus 13-7. The other scores from this weekend, the Class 1 District 1 semifinals, the St. Vincent Indians, the number 2 seed, they lose at home 49-35 to Scott City. That's a game St. Vincent won all the way back in week 2, but a different story this time around when they faced the Rams. So their season ends with a record of 5-6. Class 1 District 2 semifinals, the 3rd seeded St. Pius Lancers go on the road, fall the 2nd seeded Mark Twain 20-0. St. Pius ends up with an 8-3 record. That is tied for the most wins in a single season in school history, though. Class 2 District 2 semifinals, the 3rd seeded Grandview Eagles fall at 2nd seeded Duchesne 48-0. So Grandview wraps up the year with a record of 7-4. Class 3 District 2 semifinals, the Herculaneum Blackcats go up against the number 1 ranked team in the state in St. Mary's, and they fall 55-6 up in St. Louis. Herculaneum has a little 4-game win streak snapped. They end the year at 5-6. One of the winners this week was in the Class 3 District 1 semifinals. The number 7 ranked Central Rebels, top seed in their district. They beat the 4-seeded Potosi Trojans 47-21. And Rebels head coach Corey Schweiss afterwards said he's happy with the win.
It wasn't our best performance of the night, but you got to give Potosi a lot of credit. They played.
Yeah, I can't believe
a
that.
lot.
47-21.
They played pretty hard, and our kids had to respond several times. Had some adversity in this game, and overall, at this point in the season, we just want to win in advance, and our boys were able to do that tonight.
Potosi has typically in the second or in one of the 2 meetings every year that they seem to have with Central at this point, they tend to play them close and play them a little harder than it would have gone. I sort of thought after things were so lopsided the first go-around that Potosi was going to go out there, scrap and claw and fight. I think especially coming off of a game where they really struggled offensively against Fredericktown, Griff, there was probably a determination to have a really good night on that side of the ball to, just keep yourself in it.
Yeah, and they had to because offensively, like you said, against Fredericktown, it was not the best of nights. Some weather conditions, a little misty out there, a little windy. That didn't help them out because they do like to throw the ball a lot. But they needed to come out playing offense, and they put up 21 points against Central, who does not give up a lot of points on the year as well. Even back in, I think it was week 4 when Central and Potosi first played. I think the final score of that game was like 63-7, but Deshaun Welch that game, he had like 20 carries for 70 yards. Didn't really do too much. The Potosi defense, they played hard and they got stops on Central's offense. Obviously, the score, as lopsided as it was, Potosi, it seemed like they were a little bit more in that game. But to come out and then, in a district semifinal game when Central, they're rolling, they're playing well, they got, it feels like a lot of their guys are getting healthy again. To put up 21 points against them and only give up 47 points, again, I hate talking about silver linings or anything. It's a good way. They fought hard, fought till the end. I really enjoyed my time watching Potosi this year, talking with Dylan Wyrick and talking with a lot of those players over there as well. Those guys, they're going to come back next year fighting very hard, and it's tough way to go out, but it's top 10 team in the state.
Yeah.
Central, they came to play.
Yeah, Central's proven they're a special bunch this year to where even if their head coach looks at it and says we didn't necessarily play our best or respond to the challenge every time, they'll go and find a way to win by 25. 5-6 final record for Potosi this season. So that is the full scoreboard, save for one other game, which was maybe the game of the weekend, as in the Class 5 District 1 semifinals, the number 2 seed Sequin Jaguars needed to hold on at the very end, but they beat the Poplar Bluff Mules 35-34. If you'd like to hear more about that game, well, stick around. After the break, we're going to have Sequin head coach Nick Bayer and a couple of his players join us here to talk all about that win and about playing in their first ever district championship game this Friday night. It's on the other side of this timeout. It's the Colts Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable right here on J98. as we join you here from Applebee's in Farmington tonight. I'm Nathan Gertz, and I am thrilled to be joined right now by our guests this week on our final show of the season. One of the 5 teams that moved on from our area, that would be the Seckman Jaguars, who were big winners this weekend in the Class 5 District 1 semifinals. We have their head coach, Nick Bayer. One of their seniors, Ty Kitchen, is with us. A couple of their juniors, Zach Hudson and Josiah Maxwell. Congratulations. 9th win of the year is a thriller. It sounds like it's obviously a lot of people have gotten to see that Poplar Bluff offense and say, like, moving up and down the field. They did that again on Friday night, but you guys got the stop when it mattered.
Yeah, Poplar Bluff, very good football team. Obviously, they throw the ball well. I think he ended up throwing their quarterback for 393 yards. Thankfully, he came up 2 yards short there at the end.
I was about to say, just to set the stage for people, they do get a touchdown when they're down 7.
Right.
And they decide they want to go for 2 in the lead there in the late stages. Take me through the discussion from a coaching standpoint and what you tell the guys on that 2-point conversion.
Yeah, we had the lead. They scored with about 1:30 left on a long pass. It was really the only pass that night that got over our head. And first off, they ran the field goal team out there, so we're like, okay, here overtime, here we come. They called a timeout, allowed us to get our defense over to our side. Talked to our defense. We actually put a blitz in that we hadn't ran for a few weeks. And then they came out, ran their offense back on the field, tried to run the football, and we stuffed them about a foot short.
I'm sure that was just an incredible scene there. I got to be there a couple of weeks ago for the Fox game, and that's one that comes down to the last play. And it was nuts, obviously, because of breaking that rivalry streak. But I'm sure Friday night probably equaled that, just that sigh of relief to make that stop.
Right, yeah. Friday night, that was definitely wild there at the end with the finish. It wasn't quite like the Fox game where we had, people in Halloween costumes rushing the field and minions everywhere. And I think I saw Jesus running around out there, too.
There was at least one SpongeBob sighting amongst that group of folks out there.
So it wasn't quite like that because, we still had to collect the onside kick and get it done. But, man, it was an amazing feeling. I was so happy for the boys. Cameron Wooldridge and Hayden Gatter are in on the tackle.
That defense, I feel like, everybody kind of just immediately assumes, they run it so well with Cole Rubel, and you've obviously added the element of being able to throw for scores this year that people may think, hey, this is a team that piles up a lot of points. You want to beat people 3 yards a time on offense, and in turn, that means you want to make sure that every defensive stop counts, and for the most part this year, that group has delivered.
Right, yeah. Our defense has been very stingy all year, kind of that bend, don't break kind of attitude where we've let teams get down there, but, I could count on 2 hands how many times we've stopped teams inside our 5-yard line. And, last Friday night against Bluff, we knew that they could throw. Their quarterback gets it out quick. The plan for us was to, keep everything in front of us and let nothing get over our head. And we're going to make you throw the ball 8 times to score, not 1. And thankfully it worked out.
Josiah Maxwell, you're on that defense. 2 weeks ago, the offense didn't necessarily light the world up against Cape Central, but you guys put a 0 up, and that helped you win pretty handily. How much have you felt like just some steps you've taken forward defensively this year? That's the biggest reason you've had probably the best year in school history.
Yeah, I think the biggest step that we've taken is just being disciplined. Before, 15-yard penalties, personal fouls just killed us. But discipline was driven into us, and now as a team, we think it's fixed, the defense. And now we still feel comfortable. We're not losing our heads when the other team is getting in the red zone. We're even more excited to stop them, and we have successfully.
There are, I don't know if I want to use the term wild boys or not, but there are some intense dudes on that side of the ball. Will Becker, Jaden Ashlock, I'm sure, is somebody that it makes you better to butt heads with him in practice, but also it hurts a little bit afterwards. Yeah. I'm sure just going to work with those guys, it drives you to be a better player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their drive is crazy, especially during the game. They're so passionate, and that was the problem before, just too passionate. But now they have it under control, and you do not want to get in front of them. They are mean, like you said.
And it's worked out very, very well for you guys to have that little bite as we're talking to the Seckman Jaguars about their season. 9th win builds on already a school record for single-season victories this past Friday night. Zach Hudson getting to be around on the offensive side of the ball, obviously. Job number 1 is put the dude in front of you on the ground and let Cole Rubel rumble. do you feel like it's just a matter in the last year or so, or let's go back to 2 years ago when Cole takes over a quarterback and it starts to work out really well at the end of the year? Do you feel like it's just a matter of, hey, I'm sick and tired of being pushed around. I want to push somebody else around?
Yeah, after not having the best season as a second, we just really want to get out there and score and win.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of fun to play that offense where it's just run people over.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Ty Kitchen, you are kind of you're the Mr. Everything though on that offense. When you guys want to try and throw it or you want to mix it up running the ball, tends to go your way. What did you do to prepare yourself for this senior season where you knew, hey, they're going to give it to me in a bunch of different ways and I need to be, it may not be a ton of touches, but I have to be ready for mine.
Yeah, I mean, really just getting in there and working that relationship with Cole on the passing, just getting in there, running routes, getting reps in just to get him ready to throw the ball, and then blocking for him when that's needed, making sure that, that's what we're going to do is give 15 the ball. So that's what we need to do is just block, and that's really what we did last year. And this year we added a little more passing and running to the mix. So really just do what I can with my touches and help the team out.
As the oldest guy here, how gratifying has it been for you to put something like this together? Because statistically, it is the best season in school history.
Yeah, it's been awesome to be a part of. Last year, I think we kind of started towards that step on the winning season. Now everything's clicking and we're moving on in the playoffs. We beat Fox. That was our first goal. We won our first playoff game and we won our second one too. So now we're moving on to the first district championship in school history. And it's awesome to be a part of and seeing that all unfold.
Was there a moment this offseason or even going back to last year where you went, oh, things are different now. We're much better and we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard?
Yeah, definitely. Just all the boys come together just on those during the morning lifts during summer and just at the practices. You could just feel the intensity and that everybody really wanted this, and it's all showing now. All the work. It
is paid off in W's, and it's paid off in this spot here where you get to still be talking about football into the second week in November and playing football and practicing. Just for you as a coach, Nick, the fact that this group has accelerated so quickly. They got hot at the end of last year, put some stuff together, and then took a hard loss in the postseason to Farmington. The fact that they have immediately responded by being great most of the year. How great is that for you to see, to know, when it looked like we were hitting our stride, we didn't really stumble at all.
Right. Yeah. And these three guys I got here with me tonight are kind of the definition of that. Josiah Maxwell here, we kind of joke about it all the time, but he was the third string quarterback on our freshman football team. Okay. And 2 years later, if you'd have told us he was going to be starting as our, cornerback, defensive back, and then becoming an all conference defensive back, there wouldn't have been a lot of coaches in the coaches room that would have thought that. All right. And he put all the work in, and he came up and he made the biggest tackle of the year against Fox on the goal line. So super proud of him. Zach Hudson's the same way. He started for us on our offensive line last year as a sophomore. I've told him, with all the rushing yards we've had the last 2 years, he's probably blocked in front of more rushing yards than anybody in the history of second football, and he gets to do it for another year. And same thing with Ty. In our offense, yeah, we know Cole Rubel, he's kind of the guy, and we ask our wing backs and our receivers to do a lot of blocking. All right, but he's definitely number two. He's the slipperiest guy we've had on the team. All he does is average first downs every time he touches it, comes to work, does his business every day. So these three guys here are really a definition of how and where our programs come, and that goes for all 22 of the guys that we have starting. Looking forward even towards next season, we're returning 18 of our 22 starters this year. We're a really young team this year. Probably what I'm most proud of is just the maturity, how much more mature we are. Josiah hit on it earlier with our discipline. When we went into the Hazelwood Central game at week 4, mentally we were not ready. We went into our next Ladue game, our next big game against Ladue. First half, mentally, we were not ready. We get into the locker room. Some words were said.
Some you can't repeat right now.
Some words were said, and we challenged them. We need to come out of this game a different football team in the second half, and we did, and we battled all the way back, to 7 points with a top 10 ranked team in the state. And those 2 games allowed us to mature to win these big football games against Fox. To stay in a nut cruncher against Poplar Bluff. So it's really exciting for me, for our team to take that step forward this year as far as maturing and winning big games, and to see where it leads Friday night and in the next season.
Yeah, the foundation is so strong for this program long term, not just heading into this week, which obviously a district championship game looms ahead, and that's a fantastic opportunity. The opponent itself in Jackson, you brought up Hazelwood. That's probably the best team that's been on your schedule. And it's not necessarily a one-to-one comparison that they're the same team in what they do. But the fact that there's a physicality and a speed and, an intensity to the game, and also the fact that, every little mistake can really hurt. I'm sure you say that week 4 game, those things, you can't have the slow start that we did.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We know we're going down to Jackson. We're going down to the pit. Probably the best high school football experience in the state of Missouri. So really looking forward to that. And you know what? We get to go up against the undefeated defending state championship football team. I mean, what a great way to kind of take this season, this great 9-2 season we've had, and put ourselves up against the best. And we're really looking forward to that challenge and going out and competing against those guys on Friday. We try to get across to the boys. There's not Alabama recruits on that side of the football. They're a really good football team, but they're kids just like you, all right? Their defense, yeah, they don't miss tackles. They have great gap assignments. They're a great defense. Their offense executes and can score fast. Those are the things we're going to try to stop them from doing. And we've kind of been game planning and working all week to see if we can get that done on Friday.
The biggest thing I've noticed in some of the teams they've played around here is they just start fast every time. So we've talked about how you can't fall behind in that regard. But I am curious from the schematic standpoint, is it the fact that they're just so assignment sound that has made them so good?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about, if their defense gets you 3 and out real quick, I mean, like I said, they do not miss tackles. They do not miss assignments. I mean, they're a great coach football team. And then all of a sudden their offense goes out and scores in 2 plays, and all of a sudden you turn around and you're down 14-0. It could be pretty demoralizing for the offense to get out there on that 3rd drive. So that's what we're trying to avoid Friday night, coming out with a hot start, showing them some things they haven't seen before, and, giving them hell.
Yeah, and that's we certainly hope that is the case. I'll round up by talking to the guys here, and I'll start with you, Josiah. What does it mean to get to this point? And then what does it mean for you to just be able to go out and fight for 4 quarters, be in that position on Friday night against Jackson?
Well, just to be in it first is huge because our defensive coordinator, Coach Taylor, he back in October was talking about this game against Jackson. Like, this is where our goal is for our season. If you guys want to have state operations, which next year, which is what our goal is for him is next year, we've got to take this step and we've got to learn from this big game. If we just stay in it, I think the program next year it's just going to be so much more exciting for next year. So it's just kind of like a season finale check, kind of, just to see how far our team has gotten.
Zach?
I'm happy to be out there, be part of one of the best segment football teams there's been. I'm really happy to get out there with the seniors because, I want to help them get far, make them the best segment team ever. It's just really fun getting out there.
Ty, I'm sure it's kind of a house money situation for you as a senior. Every one of these can be your last, so you might as well go out and see if you can play one of the best games you've ever been involved in.
Yeah, that's really what I've just been trying to focus on during this playoffs is going out there, running our plays, controlling what I can control, and just beating the guy in front of me just to help the team. And so far that's worked for everybody, and we've gotten to this point. And I'm excited to see what we can do against one of the powerhouse teams in Missouri and just to see how the team has come together. And, yeah, just super excited to go out there and show them what we can do.
It's been a remarkable journey for the program, and it is going to be a fun litmus test on Friday. But you passed every test to this point. Congratulations on a terrific season, guys. Thank you so much for coming back and being with us again, and good luck on Friday night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Head coach Nick Bayer, as well as juniors Josiah Maxwell and Zach Hudson, and senior Ty Kitchen of the Seckman Jaguars with us. They will play in Jackson for the Class 5 District 1 championship on Friday night. We will run you through the entirety of this weekend's district championship schedule right after this here on the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on J98.
Sturdike Motorsports is the proud sponsor of Jefferson County Sports. Hi, this is Matt Sturdike. Whether you bleed blue, red, green, black, or gold, Sturdike Motorsports is here to serve local sports fans from every walk of life. With Yamaha motorcycles, side-by-sides, ATVs, dirt bikes, and wave runners, Polaris side-by-sides, ATVs, and slingshots. And now, for the first time in Sturdike history, we have zero-turn mowers from Bad Boy Mowers. Sports, it's in our name. Sturdike Motorsports in Festus.
We are family run for family fun.
That's what I'm saying. The Country Health Center. We are here for the health and well-being of Jefferson County. We are here for county schools, private schools, and Jefferson College to serve students. We are here providing mental health services, dental care, doctor visits, wellness exams, and immunizations at our school.
We welcome you back to the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable here on J98. One final time as we wrap up our last show of the season. Before we do that, of course, one member of our team is missing tonight, Chad Speaker. He's at home dealing with some family issues and some illness with his father. Our thoughts and prayers are obviously with him back in Kansas and with his family, and hope that Chad is enjoying some time with his dad here tonight. KU basketball back on the TV to start the season. I'm sure they're having a great time tonight, and obviously we hope that everything is able to be handled and played out in a way that is beneficial for everybody in the coming weeks and days. Also, some non-football news and notes, of course. A lot of congratulations have to be handed out for championships and honors the teams of players have won. Jefferson Blue Jays volleyball, obviously, finishing third in the state in Class 2. Valley Catholic Warriors finished third in Class 3. South Iron They lose the third-place match, but they get to their first-ever Final Four in Class 1. Congratulations to the Panthers.
Oh, yeah.
Great years in volleyball there. Congratulations to the Festus Tigers and Herculaneum Blackcats in boys cross-country. They both win state team championships over the weekend. Big congrats to the countless runners from our area who medaled at the state championships as well.
Farmington Knights girls team, they finished second.
They did. They ended up coming up just short of a title, but obviously a second-place finish is nothing to sneeze at for Jordan Stone and company. So congrats to them on those accomplishments. We'll have plenty of reporting to do in the weeks and months ahead, or days and weeks ahead, I should say, about those athletes. And, of course, we're going to go to recognize a lot of them 2 weeks from tonight. We'll bring you the 2021 Regional Radio Fall Sports Dream Team Selection Show. We will announce who the area coaches have voted as best of the best this year in football, volleyball, boys soccer, and boys and girls cross country. I don't have an exact time set for you. That will be on this station, J98, though, on Tuesday, November 23rd. As far as other sports coverage on regional radio, well, we don't have any high school plans just set minus football. We will be with you the week of November the 23rd. So starting November the 22nd, I should say, we'll bring you coverage of this year's Arcadia Valley Thanksgiving Classic to kick off a new season of high school basketball on regional radio. But in between then, you can catch Missouri Tiger football, which they lost this week. It hurts less because it was the number one team in the country in Georgia, and 2 freshman quarterbacks made their collegiate debuts. But Mizzou will try to bounce back by beating South Carolina this coming Saturday. Pregame is at 1 o'clock. Kickoff is at 3 Saturday afternoon. You can catch that on AM 800 KREI or AM 1400 KJEF. Something I'm far more excited about is Missouri Tiger basketball, which just about 20 minutes ago tipped off their season. Mizzou opens tonight against Central Michigan. You can hear the coverage right now on KREI and KJF, and you can stream both those stations at mymoinfo.com, of course. Let's go ahead and wrap things up, gentlemen, the way you want to wrap up this show, by talking about big-time football games. We have got a trio of high school football district championship matchups for you on Friday night. Out of the 6 teams on our airwaves, 5 are ranked inside the top 10, or I think 4 are ranked inside the top 10, and 2 of them are just on the outside looking in. Let's start with the Class 4 District 1 championship game on AM 1400 KJF as the North County Raiders visit the Hillsboro Hawks. We were talking a little bit earlier about what North County can do at the line of scrimmage. That, I think, is the most fascinating aspect of this matchup, Garrett. A good chunk of the starters up front were not there when these two teams met in the regular season, and Hillsboro won 42-7. That group of Payden Allen, Mason Lay, Isaac Goggle, Jackson Nash, they have absolutely dominated when they've been out there. Job Smith's a good player, but guys don't run for 338 yards on just 11 carries unless the big fellas up front are road grading. And given that they, a year ago, got to a district championship game, lost their best offensive player on their opening series in Carter Kekek, and then just short-circuited offensively the rest of the night, I kind of get the feeling that the guys up front feel like we should have dominated the game and we would have been able to move the ball then. And that's been the mission all year. And now comes that final test for them trying to dominate Hillsboro.
Yeah, and it's going to be, honestly, a very difficult test because this Hillsboro defense, when we talked about it, they're really great. Of course, this North County line has also been really great as well. So this is definitely a statement game for North County. You would think a district championship game shouldn't really be a statement game, that the statement is already made. But I really think we really can see how great this North County line is. And you mentioned the fact that some of their starters weren't there for that game, most notably Payden Allen. They had a guy in Andrew Sivvy. He played offensive and defensive line, and he's usually kind of a linebacker spot on that defense. So, really getting to see what a healthy and completely together offensive line is now, and they've had some time, with that time off, things start to get a little bit loose on the line, but they've had time to get together. They have time to connect. They had time to really get a formula down and a formula corrected. And I think
we're looking at a dangerous North County line right now. So, and talking to Coach Jones, he said, he didn't know if all the people come back, if that makes a 35-point difference, but it surely will make a difference, and I believe that we will see that on Friday.
I don't see any way this isn't a 4-quarter game, and I sort of wonder if we get kind of a low-scoring slugfest to what we had with Hillsborough and Festus. Griff, you had that first call. Hillsborough did whatever they wanted offensively in that game. I think with guys back up front on the defensive line for North County, that changes. And I think it's in particular fascinating that Hillsborough struggled in those 4th and short situations I was talking about earlier against Festus, because with guys like Payton Allen back in the fold, North County can get those stops.
Yeah, and they are going to be more fired up for this game than I think they have for any other game coming into this year because of what happened back in week 4, week 3, week 4, I believe it was. Back in that game, you guys mentioned it, a few guys out for North County. Hillsborough, they ran all over them. It was pretty much a no contest right after halftime. They remember that. And I think they are using that as motivation coming into this game. It will be a slugfest. I don't think it's going to be some high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be whoever has the ball last, whoever is able to score last wins.
Which means two things, in my opinion, and I always harp on this when we get to the big games, but when we talk about quarterback play, that means somebody will probably make a throw in the course of the game that can really turn things on its head. Someone will also potentially have the ball trailing in the final 2 minutes and have to do it throwing. So who is it, Blake or Nolan Reed for North County, or Griffin Ray for Hillsborough? Which of the two can come up with a drive, or with one drive or one throw that ends up being the difference? That'll be the fascinating thing. I really think this is a game where the linemen are the stars. Payton Allen for North County, Jordan Jarvis for Hillsborough, Mason Legg, Gregory Sanders. You go back and forth with big dudes up front who can play. But I also think that at the same time, because they're so good up front, and both sides obviously have skill guys they trust, whether it's Job Smith or Jackson Patterson, Austin Romain, or Clayton Chandler, it is going to come down perhaps to those quarterbacks who have not been asked necessarily to carry a big load yet.
And real quick, just to your point, I wonder, what practice is like for those teams this week. I don't know if you had the chance to talk to either coach just yet, but I wonder if they are doing more passing situations and practicing maybe 3rd and longs or something like that. Very interested to see how that will play into the game. Gary.
One thing is for sure, light contact this week.
Yes.
That game's going to hurt on Friday, so you're going to want to make sure everybody's as fresh as possible.
More RVA than anything if they're doing the passing
and
stuff.
The one thing that I wanted to mention is that we talked about earlier in this broadcast, the unsung guys that come in and have a really big impact on the game. For me, what I'm looking at offensively at North County is who becomes that 3rd guy besides Nolan Reed and Job Smith. We know how great these two guys are. We talk about how this O-line is phenomenal. But you look at Hillsborough side, they have really 3 guys in Griffin Ray, Jackson Patterson, and Austin Romain that can get it done if they have the football in their hands. I mean, you can say Tyler Watson, but not at the same level as those 3 guys. So really, who in North County decides, hey, I need to have a big game today, I'm going to step up and I'm going to be that relief for Nolan and Job and to really help these guys really open up the offense. That's really what I'm looking at in this matchup, and who becomes that unsung hero for North County.
Yeah, it's one of those games you love to see where two teams know each other incredibly well to go with the high stakes. The Class 4 District 1 championship game will come your way on KJEF for Jefferson County Friday Night Football coming up here to end the week. We do have action on AM 800 KREI, even though Farmington obviously has their season coming to an end, so we can get you bonus coverage of high school football on regional radio, and a fun one. The Class 3 District 1 championship will come your way as the top-seeded Central Rebels host number 2 Kennett. Central, I feel like, has cleared every test this year, Garrett, to prove that they are one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the state in Class 3. They've been kind of stuck right at 7 for a while. And part of it, I think, is not just that there are so many good teams out there like Valley and St. Mary's, Blair Oaks, Odessa, who won a state title 2 years ago. I also think it's the fact that people look historically at Central and say, well, they've gotten to this spot before, but then they lose to Kennett. Everybody loses to Kennett in Class 3 District 1. This feels like the best shot Corey Schweiss has had in a long time to emphatically answer the question of whether or not they can beat the Indians.
And you know what? When it comes to Central, I haven't actually seen them all year long. I've only heard about them. So it's like a mystical creature to me, this Central team.
Because, Griffin.
The most rare of Pokemons.
Yes, exactly. That's what it feels like, this Central team. And, you just hear how great they are.
But, I mean, I think really I knew that, oh, my gosh, this Central team is legit when they almost barely lost to MICDS. So they got just a loaded squad, and I know from they had Deshaun Welch out, and they were still able to put up points on the board. And I think really they're coming into this game with a fire because, like you said, it was always Kennett. They had to always get by Kennett. Here's that time. And now I don't know much about Kennett. They don't really have stats rolling around online or anywhere. I haven't talked to any of the coaches, so they're kind of a question mark to me. But I look at a common opponent right now in St. Genevieve. I mean, Kennett was able to score a lot of points against them, and it was one of St. Genevieve's best defensive games against Central. So it's one of these games where, it's really could be anybody's matchup at this point. But this Central team, I mean, that offense is something special.
And I think I go back to the point of Valley Catholic being tested against St. Genevieve for the first time really all season before they go into the biggest game of the season for Central. I'm not sure if they expected Potosi to come out playing the way that they did, putting up 21 points. For them to kind of have that game after they got a first-round bye in the district playoffs, to be tested against a team like Potosi, and to have some film that Corey Schweiss can look at and say, you know what, maybe this is something that we need to fix, something that we need to, make sure that we change before we go into this game. I think that, maybe some of the mistakes that they could have made in that game against Potosi could help this Central team going into the game on Friday.
And I'm very interested to talk to Corey Schweiss, whenever that may be, to see what he saw on film over the game and saw some things that he thought should be tweaked in the game plan. So definitely interested in that as well. But getting back to just Central, they're a really great team. I mean, that's all I can really say about them. They have a great quarterback, Jet Bridges, Deshaun Welch, and they have a whole bunch of support guys that can really do anything with the football. So it's not just those two guys, but they're your big stars. But they can spread around the football. It's really anybody around that field. So it does feel like a mystical team right now. It's my first time I get to see them, and it's a district championship, so I'm excited.
The two elements we don't talk enough about, though, is the fact that, number one, you cannot put 8 or 9 in the box and just say we have to take number 12 away because they're that good throwing it this year with Jet Bridges. And obviously, Joe Bryan, I think, has become a real handful at receiver. Number two, take the 52 points away from MICDS. They might only be giving up like 10 a game. They've been great on the defensive side, too. They've built themselves into a complete football team. And like I said, it just feels like a big part of that has been constantly finding themselves on the wrong end of things to Kennett this time of year, the last couple of years in the postseason. We'll see if that changes in Park Hills on Friday night. We'll have it for you on AM 800 KREI, the Class 3 District 1 championship game. A game that many eyes across the state will be turned toward and many ears will be tuned into. We will have for you on J98 is the Class 3 District 2 championship game. It's number 2 Valley Catholic visiting number 1 St. Mary's. That's not just the seeds. That's the rankings in the final state poll of the year for Class 3. They were number 1 and number 2, I want to say, for the last 2-3 weeks of the season. A year ago, St. Mary's went in there, raced out to a big lead, punched Valley Catholic in the mouth, and cruised to a victory. In many respects, if they don't get COVID-19 and have to forfeit, I kind of wonder if they would have won it all a year ago.
They would have had a great shot, I'm sure.
This is an opportunity for Valley Catholic to not just get revenge for that loss a year ago, Griff, but it is their opportunity to make it very clear that moving up to Class 3 has not necessarily put them behind the 8 ball in some way, because every other test they've passed, despite being bumped up for postseason play the last 2 years. And I think the biggest way that they can pass the test this week, obviously, is probably still an unknown, which is, will their starting quarterback, Chase Fowler, be out there?
That's a great question. He only came in for one play against St. Genevieve. We weren't sure if we were going to see Chase Fowler play quarterback at all. The one play he did come in for, it wasn't, by choice necessarily. Grant Fowler got shaken up on a hit. Chase comes in and he threw an interception on a pass. And, so the thing is, if Grant Fowler's the quarterback, it's not going to change too much, I guess. But yes, the team is more dynamic with Chase Fowler to quarterback because he's a better thrower than Grant Fowler. A reminder, Grant never played quarterback at the high school level, still led his team to an undefeated season. He's a great runner, and he can complete the passes that are given to him. I think there's some easier routes, and especially, with Hayden Heberly as a receiver, that's definitely a big help for throwing to him as well. So that is a big question. Maybe I'll figure that out this week. But it's for St. Mary's, they're a big team. yeah, I know it's Class 3, but for a while there, they were Class 4 as well. A couple of years ago, they made the Class 4 semifinals. First time the school made a semifinal in their history. Last year, they moved down from Class 4 to Class 3. And that game last year between Valley and St. Mary's, I think St. Mary's, they scored 3 touchdowns on like 3 consecutive plays. I think there were 2 pick sixes, maybe an interception return for a touchdown, or 2 pick sixes, and then 1 long rushing touchdown as well. They got off to a quick start. I think the final was 55-22. This is a different Valley team. They've played, like you said, a much different schedule, playing teams that are higher in class, playing some other teams that are in the top 10 in state in their respective classes. This is, I think it was a learning experience for Judd Nagger. And if there's anyone who you don't want to learn from their mistakes, it's Judd Nagger, because he's a guy who makes adjustments. He's a student of the game, and he is going to come into this game as prepared as he possibly ever could be. The thing that just, looking at the thing that really stands out to me in my eyes, St. Mary's is a big football team. They got guys 6 foot, 300 pounds, 6 foot, 290 pounds. The list goes on and on. They have guys who have offers from Alabama, Oregon, Arizona State, Texas. The list goes on and on. They have Division I athletes, and there's a couple Division I athletes, I think, on Valley Catholic's roster. I think we're going to see Bryce Giesler play at that level, in his future. I think there's a mental part of that goes into this game as well, knowing that there are some guys on the other side who are having those Division I offers and that kind of success. It's this is the state championship game, it feels like, because yes, they are the top 2 teams in the state in Class 3. This game really does feel like that, and the anticipation is kind of killing me. I can't wait to watch it, to see the St. Mary's team play, to see what Valley Catholic does a little bit differently this year. I can't wait for it. It's going to be right here on J98.
We've been building it for a couple of weeks. It just seemed like it was inevitable that these 2 teams would cross paths, and the fact that they ended up in the same district yet again means that it happens here for a district championship. So somebody is going to walk home with a trophy at the very least in this battle.
And I just want to say, not about this game in particular, but it kind of feels like this weekend we're going to see a lot of kids, and everybody listening at home is going to hear about a lot of kids that should be playing on Saturdays. That's all I got to say. They're going to see some real talent in these district championship games.
And yet at the same time, you brought it up, something we talked about at the beginning of the show. Who are the unsung heroes? Who maybe steps up and has a surprise big performance in this big stage? It's going to be a fun one that'll be right here on the boot as Valley Catholic battles St. Mary's for the Class 3 District 2 championship.
And the one note that I wanted to make, alluded to it earlier in the broadcast, the little teaser, I am going to be joined by St. Genevieve head coach Jay Pope on the broadcast Friday night right here on J98 The Boot as well. A good friend of Judd Nagger's, a guy who's got some insight into the Valley Catholic team. Told me he was going to be doing some studying on St. Mary's as well. Going to do his best Tony Romo impression coming up on Friday night. So that is
say, I don't know, Griffin.
I can't wait for it. I'm excited for it. I'm really glad that he's going to be doing the game with me. And can't wait to do that.
Well, it's not just that he's coached against this Valley Catholic team this year. That's a former Valley player right there. A former
assistant coach, yeah.
Yeah, former assistant coach for Judd, and obviously somebody who knows about Big Ten football from his experience over the last couple of years assistant coaching at Jackson. We'll get to hear his insights on that one on Friday night on J98 as Valley Catholic visits St. Mary's. That one is up in St. Louis. On AM 800 KREI over in Park Hills, you got the Class 3 District 1 championship game with Central hosting Kennett. On AM 1400 KGF, Class 4 District 1 title game will be in Hillsboro, where the Hawks will host the North County Raiders. It'll be like always, our coverage starting with the Fleeks Equipment pregame show at 6 o'clock Friday night on all regional radio stations. So we hope that you will tune in for that. That'll lead it all the way up to the kickoff at 7 of whatever game you are listening to. Abbreviated version of the Home Pools and Spots End Zone show will come your way afterwards, where we'll recap our broadcast games and hopefully hear from Seckman head coach Nick Bayer about their trip to Jackson for the Class 5 District 1 title. Good luck to the Jags in that one, and best of luck to all the teams competing this weekend across the state, including the St. Paul Lutheran Saints, who have a big game at Knox County that some of us have a interest in from a family standpoint. Watch out for that number 12, Josiah Gertz. He can play wide receiver, I tell you what.
Any relation?
Surprisingly, yes. Who would have thunk it? Yeah. No, I got plans Saturday afternoon to be watching some more playoff football in that one. We hope that you will join us for our playoff football coverage on Friday night on regional radio. Again, you can tune in to hear Mizzou Hoops season opener right now on KREI and KGF against Central Michigan. And we look forward to bringing you high school football district championship action on J98, AM 800 KREI, and AM 1400 KJEF on Friday evening. But that is going to do it for us tonight and for this season. A gigantic thank you to Greg and Christy Cole for being the title sponsors of this program throughout the year. Cole's Tractor and Equipment is on Highway 32 in Farmington. Don't just follow the herd, lead the herd. A gigantic thank you to Amy Cousins and the people here at Applebee's in Farmington. They have been terrific hosts this season. I am about to chow down on some 4-cheese mac and chicken tenders here in just a second. And a big thank you to you, the listener, of course, for tuning in and being with us all season. There is more high school sports coverage on the way in the coming days, weeks, and months on regional radio. But that'll do it this season for the Cole's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. For Griffin Weinberg, Garrett Davenport, Chad Speaker, thinking of you, buddy. Couldn't be with us here tonight. I'm Nathan Gertz. Appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your week. Hopefully you join us for high school football playoff action later this week on regional radio. Until then, so long, folks.
Parkland Health Mart Pharmacy wants to remind you that it's time to consider your